Alright, welcome everyone to another episode of our Emerald playthrough. So in this one we'll be going through the storyline further into exploring what Team Magma and Team Aqua are up to, and then we'll finish with a gym battle as well. So that's with the fire type gym. So what I wanted to discuss today, since we are 2 days away from as I'm recording this, we are 2 days away from the release of the Crown Tundra, and they're starting to release more information in the lead up to it. Not spoilers in my view, but if you're not really wanting to hear anything about the game prior to it coming out, I'm sorry, you can just mute this for a little while. And I'm not going to go into anything massive because obviously I don't really know anything and I don't really look that heavily into the spoilers. But all that I've really touched on is they've released the catch rates of the legendaries, and then how the adventure raids are likely to work, and just wanted to share my opinion on it as to what I was really thinking in terms of how they've done it, and just share my overall feelings. So yeah, with the recent update that they've released, they've explained that the catch rate will be once per person, so you can only catch a legendary Pokemon once, which is completely standard because that's what it's been in every other game, other than with things like Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, where if you don't catch it the first time, you can go back and catch the same thing again the same day. I'm not sure if they've entered that into anything else, but that's what I came across when I played through Alpha Sapphire at the start of the year. But yeah, so they're saying that that's a thing, so that's understandable, and I'm fine with that. Got no objections to how they've done that. But the one thing that I do find a bit strange is how the actual mode will work. But you'll have 100% catch rate, which is, yeah, that makes sense because it seems like it'll be a bit of a challenge getting through to each thing. So having the option of using any Pokeball you want to catch it in. So obviously, Master Ball was always the 100% chance when you were coming up against legendaries before, and yeah, it's cool to be able to pick the ball that you want to put it in and then just use it. But the one thing that I find that I really have an objection with is the fact that you, so to quote the article that I've read this from, the even trickier is that players can't bring their best Pokemon into the mode and have to choose from a rental team. Although while exploring the caves, you can catch new monsters who can then be used in the battles. So going into this initially, I was okay with the idea of doing this solo, because with other raid battles in Pokemon Sword and Shield, you can choose to either play online with friends or just random people you come across, where you can invite them to certain raids that people might be looking to join. Or you can choose to do just a solo mode where the game just adds other people to battle with you, and they're not particularly that great. Sometimes you get lucky and you'll have a good type advantage where they'll help you with additional damage, but most of the time they aren't that beneficial. So looking at it in terms of how it's saying you have to use a rental team, it's very much reminds me of Pokemon Stadium, where you could choose to have a rental team to go through the cups and through the Gym Leader Castle, which, yeah, it's an interesting idea, and sure, it might not be that bad, but I'm just kind of looking at it thinking, well, I was really just planning on using my current team that I've got in Pokemon Sword and Shield, and that really sucks if you can't just take your strongest one into battle. But yeah, it's something that I'll still go through and I'll still experience it, and maybe it's not as bad as I'm thinking it is, but yeah, it's just something where I just kind of look at it and it seems unnecessary. Like, are they trying to level the playing field for everyone? Yeah, I can't really see how that's helpful in any way. It does create a little bit of a challenge. But other than that, yeah, I'm still excited for it. They are introducing an interesting cast of Pokemon. There's supposedly 119 Pokemon being introduced into this DLC. But yeah, it's just interesting that they choose to go down that route of having rentals. But I am interested in exploring that last little part where it says that if you catch something in those caves, you can use it to your advantage. So I wonder if that means you can always use it when you go back out, or does it mean that when you catch it, you can sub it into your team and use it there instead? So I'm thinking it might be that second option there, but that's all just speculation anyway, and not really any spoiler. But yeah, so yeah, it's interesting. So a little bit of a, well, I guess this might spoil it for anyone who really doesn't want to have any insight going into it. So with the 100% catch rate, Game Freak will make players work for the encounter as they have to beat 5 Dynamax battles in a row. So it means that apparently you've got to get through that many battles in order to get to the end, and apparently you can't heal in between them, so you have to carry the HP and the PP that you run with through each battle. So it does sound like it's going to be fairly challenging and really rewarding going through and doing each one. There is part of me which thinks, well, if it proves to be too hard, I could just move what I want from Pokemon Home into Sword and Shield. If I really want to do that, if I don't really feel like doing all of them, yeah, I could, but I think it'll be a fun thing just to set some time out and work towards each day. But otherwise, yeah, it sounds pretty cool, and it's another different tweak to a game where it's not the same as what it's been in other games, and yeah, it's a slightly different take on stuff. So yeah, looking forward to it. And that's 2 days away from when we're recording right now, and hopefully that they've got something rewarding for when you go through and complete the Pokedex for that region, like they did for the Isle of Armor with the Mark Charm, which I haven't really put to any use, but it's nice to have regardless. So yeah, it's it'll be pretty fun to do. So yeah, the next big challenging part that I see coming up in this playthrough will be the battle against our father, so the gym leader after Flannery, who is in this episode. If I remember correctly, when I was playing through Ruby and Sapphire, he was always the most challenging, and I think the general consensus is that he is the hardest gym leader out of just all of them, because of the timing in which you come up against him, where I think with some of the other gym leaders, depending on which types you've got in your party, of course, you're strong enough by then to be able to take them on. So I will have a go at him prior to trying anything else in terms of going off and training for a bit, just because I don't really have that much of much recall on what he was like when I was playing through Ruby and Sapphire. I do remember it playing through Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, but I feel like they're completely different games in terms of how it's all set up. So especially with the EXP share working across the whole party in that game versus it only working on one Pokemon in this one. So Maxie wasn't too bad. We did have to use a few heals here and there, but that's alright. I feel if they're doing it in battle, then we should be allowed to do it in battle. So I've gotten through him, and now we just need to go back down the mountain. So I am pretty much taking out every stop in terms of running into every person that I can battle, for money and for EXP reasons, just so that if I don't need to worry about grinding later down the track. I think he might be a little bit challenging just because his Slackots can be a little bit tough. There's an advantage where they do loaf around a little bit, which can be handy, but they can deal a lot of damage as well. So I'll might come up with a strategy of how to do it. I might just go in blind the first time and see if I can just chance my arm and get through it all. So here we go, just doing a few trainer battles on the way. But I always I've always remembered this part of the track. It's funny. I was trying to think of what gym leaders I had coming up while I was playing through this part, because I knew that we had the fire type gym coming up next, and then I know that there's like the flying type one after the weather center, and I was like, oh, but is that number 6 or is that number 7? Where does that fall in line with everything else, or is it number 5? I can't remember who number 5 is. I always seem to forget. I guess because it's a town that you go through fairly early on, you kind of forget that it exists, and you forget that your dad's a gym leader in this, which is a cool gimmick they had for this series, especially. It's I don't know whether I said this in one of my previous episodes, but I've always felt like a little bit of a stronger connection to this storyline than other games, just because of like the relationship that I've got with my dad, where he and I work in the same industry, and I did work for him for quite a while, and then I've worked on opposing teams to him as well. So I kind of share that feeling that this main character goes through in terms of having to take on your dad in a gym leader battle where you're on opposing sides and you aren't working together on something. So I think not that I really thought of that when I was a kid when I was playing through it, because obviously I was in school and I didn't really know what I was going to be doing when I grew up. But now that I've had time to look back on it and reflect on it, I think that's when I've played through these games again, especially Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. I think that's when I really started thinking about it, because I've played those games recently. That's where I really got that from, in terms of having that connection there. I thought that was a bit funny. I think anyone might really look back on it and go, oh yeah, it's cool being able to play against a parent, and that's a bit rare, because at this point in the series you'd never really had that sort of connection anywhere. Like you've had rivalries with like friends or people who are supposedly meant to be friends, but they're more enemies and rivals in the grand scheme of things. And then in later games, in like Sword and Shield for example, you've got Hop, and you've got the brother who's the champion, and then there's some sort of family tie there, because it's a lifelong family friend. But oh god, just thinking about that, just having him being the all great champion who's never been beaten before or anything like that was just so tiresome by the end. But you do get through it all, and it's a fun storyline to play through, and I think each of them have their own little quirks here and there. So we'll just go through and tackle Gym. I just wanted to stock up on a few revives as well, just to have them on hand. I don't really want to rely on them too much, but I think they might just be helpful there in getting me out of a sticky situation or two, just in case I find myself in a spot of trouble. And I'll swap the EXP share around, because I'm thinking that I might like Geodude in my team long term. I'm not really sure. I know Aaron certainly will be. I know I've discussed this before, so he'll certainly be a big part of my team, but then just not sure if I want to evolve Geodude into a Graveler and have a semi-strong rock type on my side. So again with this gym, I'm going to go through and intentionally try and battle all the trainers, just to gain some EXP along the way, get Aaron trained up a bit. And obviously having a water type, it's going to really come to my advantage here. I know in the past few episodes we've run into some trouble, especially against May and her grass type. I feel like we're fairly well set up at this point of the game. Again, I'll need to see where we come up against with Norman to see how that really pans out, in terms of whether, like, I'm hoping that something like Marshtomp and Kadabra and Aaron will be a good enough combination to be able to take them on. Hopefully Aaron's defense will really come in handy, and then the psychic type and the water type, hopefully there'll be different angles there where we can really work something out. So that's where I'm going to leave it for this episode, guys. I haven't been feeling that well the last couple of days. Just had a pretty constant headache and just not sleeping very much. But thank you if you've been working your way through watching each episode as they come out, or if you're watching the playlist all the way through at a later date. Thank you for sticking by it and watching it, and leaving feedback here and there. Always much appreciated. So thank you for watching, and stick through to the end, because it's I think I get lost in here a little bit, just forgetting where I get teleported back and forth. And keep an eye out for the next episode. We'll keep them coming out each week. Alright, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.